right, it's here we go. It's 6 o'clock. It's Wednesday night. It's Real Unfiltered Talk with James Bryant along, two-time world champion, the man with the plan and the jig in his hand, Dion Hibden. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful.
How wonderful are you doing?
Oh, really good. I'm doing very good.
It's been a good week.
It has been. Everything's going good.
I'm pretty happy. I wanted to share with you the title of today's show.
Okay.
The title of the show is called "Oops, He Did It Again." That was the first one, and then it says cooler weather has made its way to Central Missouri, and the fishing is heating up. So let's talk about it. That's the show tonight. So kind of give you a little heads up,
okay?
Because you called me earlier this afternoon and said, "Hey, I got a guest," and I said, "No, we got other stuff to talk about. I'm trying to make you cry tonight."
Yeah,
I'm going to work on that. Work on your emotions. What do you think?
We can do it. We can try.
I can do it. So yeah, how was your week?
It's been good. It's been good. I fished a tournament on Saturday. Did
we'll
good.
Get there. Don't even start there.
Don't start
this
there.
Week, not last weekend.
This week.
This week,
fine.
Sunday through Monday, all good.
It's fine. I've been making some tackle. Been thinking about fishing tackle. Trying to make a better mouse trap to catch these boogers. You said the fishing's getting better. It's still pretty tough right this second, but it's any day with the way this weather's happening, it's going to happen.
This is what we've been waiting on, though.
Yeah,
we've been waiting for this
has
weather
to happen
for a long time because it's October. I don't even know what the date is now.
It's
the
middle
16th.
Of the month. Yeah.
It's the 16th, and we're still in the upper 70s in water. But that's fixing to change very fast.
30-degree night tonight, or 39-degree night.
It's been in the 30s and the 40s the last 2 or 3 nights now.
Yep.
That really drops that surface water temperature down and makes things really, really nice.
Yeah.
I think.
And a little bit of wind stirring it up would be nice. If we get one of them slightly windy nights, that helps. I know that's hard to believe, but when it's dead slick calm, it cools down the top 2 or 3 feet of water.
Right.
If you get a little wind blowing in there, then it mixes it up. It just churns in that cooler temperature, and it cools it down a little bit quicker. And the last couple of nights have been pretty calm, but it'll happen. We'll get some of that wind like you do in the fall.
So it's time tonight to dive into Dion's personal life. You ready? I'm
ready.
So last year, December, he had a little health scare. We weren't doing too well. Spent a little time, about a month or so in the hospital.
Yeah.
It was good for you.
It's a little if you weren't in there. If you were in there, it's a lot.
That was sarcasm also.
Yeah, 30 days is a lot to be laying there.
It wasn't good. And, we spent a year together working and doing some different stuff. And, we had the discussion, you've been mentoring the boys and, you've had a very good career in fishing. And maybe it was time to slow down a little bit, let the guys take over. And we went and fished last Tuesday and you smoked them. And which, by the way, I think I've sent out, about 60 videos so far. People want to see the video you catching the big fish. And thank you to everybody that emailed in and asked for that. It's been cool. I got one even yesterday. But, even you could admit, thought your days might have been a little numbered, right?
Somewhat.
Time to slow it down a little,
Well, not knowing about your health, it's always kind of a mystery.
And let's not talk about, let's talk about the haters and the deniers out there. Dion's old; he ain't gonna do it anymore, right? There's the next generation, and that accounts for a lot of older fishermen. And I'm not saying you're older, but 30, 40 years fishing.
Sure.
Yeah, you've been doing it a long time. And there's the next generation. So this weekend we had a show on it, and we talked about it. Was the Warrior William tournament?
Yep.
And you went and fished that one.
Yep.
And you did the same thing that you did on Tuesday. You failed to put a limit together.
I did.
You want to talk about the day a little bit?
I can.
You took Bo from Bojangles Tackle. He was your net girl.
Yeah.
So he went along and did that. So let's talk about your second really big tournament since you've been out of the hospital and back going again.
Yeah. It's for a great cause. It was the Warrior William tournament. We had about 110 boats in it, something like that. And a lot of it was. A lot of the good locals fished it because it is for a good cause, and there really wasn't much else going on. So it had a lot of good fishermen in it. We took off that morning, and it was a nice morning. It was still warm. Like I say, that's our main thing. It got up into the 80s that day. But after catching couple weeks ago, me and you, I kind of felt like I knew what to do, and I ran down the lake. Because it took off out of Red Oak, and I wanted to go down the lake for the clarity of water and stuff like that.
Now I'm going to interject, okay, just real quick, because we have people that maybe have never fished this lake before. Red Oak's the resort, about the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
So lake's 100 miles long. It's about the 35, roughly
like
36 mile mark. So you've got a good opportunity to go any direction to catch fish.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great place to take off.
It is.
Just because it is very centrally located. Guys that want to go low end can. The guys that want to go way up can. It's a great place to go out of. And they do a great job with that tournament too.
So you called me a few days before and said, hey, if you want to go fish this, I'd love to have you. And of course, I have a 3-year-old and a job, so I couldn't do it. So I delegated off, and probably you'll make a lot of big mistakes, but another big mistake, because you caught 18 some pounds on Tuesday. This was the following weekend. And you said, hey, I'm fixing to go out and run down a little, just not too far. And I think I can find some stuff that's about the same as what we did when you and I fished.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So go ahead. Sorry.
And went into a spot exactly like where you and I had caught them. I've been, ever since we caught them, from the last cast I made on that day with you, I've thought about this little spot that's exactly like where we caught them. And it's a spot where I've done well. I won a 2-day VFL in there once, and led a Toyota a couple of different times out of there. Just a really good spot. It has all the right ingredients for what we're looking for.
For a resident bass?
A lot of them are resident bass in there, because it's just a good place for them to live, but it's also it's kind of a tricky place. You got to get in there early, because it gets a lot of boat traffic. Lots of people around, and they stir up the water pretty quick. So it's one of those deals you have no choice. You can't wait on the sun to come up to be a better dock day. You have to go in there right off the get-go, because by noon you got people going in buying gas and different stuff like that, and it just muddies up the water in there.
Gotcha.
Because overall it's very shallow. The whole creek is fairly shallow, and it just dingies up pretty quick.
So you didn't switch up anything? Still on a jig?
Still on a jig.
Some top water?
I did have top water laid out, which I'd never made work, but ended up catching them all on a jig, same 9/16 jig, with a willy on the back of it, in brown in color. And I don't really think it's the bait as much as it's just putting it, where it needs to be.
In the tight spots.
Yeah, in the tight spots, and really taking my time and putting my bait where nobody else is taking the time to do.
I've had a lot of people that have asked me questions about fishing with you, and question today that was asked that I did not have an answer for was, how many times has Dion swung on a fish and missed? When you guys fish together, how many times you swing and miss? I had to think about that for a little bit, and I said maybe twice, 3 times, maybe. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
I mean, if that. I mean, when you caught that 641, you one bit it before, but you didn't really swing on it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I don't make bad decisions every now and then and swing too much, but
you know what I mean. Hook, just so we're clear on the conversation, is setting the hook, missing a fish, or thinking you have a fish, swinging on it, and I'm just curious about that.
There's a lot of times that I will I basically check. I don't, before I jerk. And I don't put much pressure on them. I just stop. And that came from my dad. My dad was the greatest guy at catching every bite that he had, and jerking it away from one or tightening up on one, can make him spit it out. And a lot of times I'll stop. I'll think, oh, that could be one. And I'll just stop, and I'll just hold on to it, and I'll wait till I see my line move. And if my line moves and I'm not moving it, that's the only one thing it can be. And my way of thinking and my dad's way of thinking, and I did a podcast the other day, and Woo Dave's called in, and I can remember Woo Dave saying in one of his seminars that bass ain't got no hands. Okay, so when your bait moves because of him, it's in his mouth. And so anytime you get any kind of movement or any kind of feel, guess what? It's got to be in his mouth. And so you talking about me not jerking a lot. There's a lot of times I might not jerk, but I'm waiting to see if something happens,
Sure.
I might give it an extra 5 seconds. Because really, for the most part, everything a bass puts in his mouth pokes him anyways. When he eats a bluegill, guess what happens? Then the little old sharp fins that you and I feel when we catch a bluegill, that's on the inside of his mouth. When he catches a crawdad, he crushes it. And I can only imagine those are sharp edges, when he's crushing a crawdad, back in his crushers and stuff like that. So does he feel the hook in my jig? No. I think that's what he feels is you tugging on him, and sometimes that's unnatural and he'll spit it out. But so sometimes I take a little more time. I give the fish a chance to get a hold of it, Now, mind you, if I feel a good thump and I see my line moving, I set the hook immediately. I don't hesitate. But if I'm not sure, I check. I kind of just, okay, let me sit there for a second. And normally he's going to do something. He's not just going to grab it and stand there very, very, very often. Most time he's going to move. And with jig fishing, there's a lot of times, a lot of people screw them up by, oh, was that a bite? And they tighten up on it, and the next thing they feel, oh, yeah, there he is. And you reel down, you crank, and you jerk on him. No, what you felt the second time was him blowing it back out. And I would rather him blow it out and then me make another pitch than tighten up on him and make him spit it out.
Now, when you talk about blowing out, I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. I have seen, we used to have a big old bass in the aquarium here, and OCB taught us a lot. But a lot of times you put a crawdad in there, a crawdad go down under like the edge of a rock. Old bass, he'll stick his nose down, he'll head down right for him, and he'll take a big breath of water and blow that crawdad out and then suck him up.
Yep.
That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen that, it's kind of a cool thing to see because they don't just all the time just grab a bait and take off running.
It's a suction a lot of times also. When you talk about one sucking it in, guess what? That's what's happening.
Yep. They use water for their
advantage. He flares his gills, and the water rushes back through his mouth, and it sucks that bait right in his throat.
Yep.
But that's a little too technical. I'm just telling you, you don't have to jerk as soon as you think you got a bite, because sometimes you're actually messing up one good bite.
Oh.
And the bigger a bass gets, the smarter he is. And a lot of times he won't give you that second chance. So every bite I'm given, I give him a chance, to get a hold of it and stuff like that.
What about when your jig gets hung up? I love throwing a wiggle wart. I love throwing a crankbait in the rocks. And I was always told, and I shouldn't say I was always told, I've learned that you're reeling down that old crankbait, he's working through the rocks, he's bouncing and bouncing, and you get hung. A lot of times, I don't pop it or anything. I just let the line out and he'll back up. And when that crankbait backs up to float again, about 60% of the time, you'll get bit. Instead of trying to pop it loose, you just let it float back up and they'll hit it on that reaction strike.
If you watch little bluegill around objects and stuff, they back up. Bluegills have reverse. I don't know if any other fish does, but bluegills have reverse. They can pull up to a little old stick, stand there, and then they'll just back up and swim another direction. And a lot of times that's what triggers that fish into biting,
My question is that same kind of thing will apply whenever you're hung on a branch or a stick with a jig?
Absolutely. I shake it real easy first.
But leave it there.
I flick it real easy and, shake it, and sometimes it'll fall off. I give it a lot of slack line, right off. And then I'll flip it real hard a time or two to try to make it come off. Because there's lots of times he's standing there looking at it. And if it happens to pop loose, as it pops loose away from it, that's a pretty natural thing for that fish to see.
Yeah.
And he'll jump and grab your bait.
So you fished a tournament. We'll go back to where we were. So that's what he was doing.
Yeah, I was slinging a jig back in little dark places under boat docks, shallow boat docks, nothing sophisticated.
Less than 5 feet still?
Oh, yeah, less than 5 feet. Everything, everything has been, which is a good thing. That means they're wanting to be there. And but anyway, started in that spot. It felt like when I got there had been nobody in there before me. There wasn't nobody in there that morning, but it didn't feel like there'd been anybody in there in a day or two, because we caught several small fish, caught 8 or 10 fish probably to go along with the 4 that we weighed in.
Hey, tip of the week. I'm going to share this with everybody. We've talked about it a little bit, but let's talk about it. You want to talk about cobwebs?
We can, sure.
If anybody doesn't know about cobwebs on a boat, if you're going down a dock and you see a boat well and there's a lift in it with a boat on it, and you see cobwebs strung on both sides, like attached to the boat and to the side of the dock, nobody's casted there.
That's right.
Nobody's been in there, so that's a place where you can cast, and no one's ever.
It's
at least that day.
It's fresh for you.
Yeah, overnight.
Right,
he made a nest, so no one's been there that morning. Yeah. So you've hit a spot that's fresh. So with that being said, proceed. Sorry.
And I look for that type of stuff. I look for that type of stuff. I look for splash marks on the side of the docks. A lot of people don't look for that.
I never look for that.
But that's very common. Most people can't cast like.
It's either that or an otter was in there.
Yeah, well, yeah.
See splash marks?
And yeah, that would be a big splash mark.
True.
That would be like,
Or somebody falling behind you that caught a 5-pounder.
That's right. That's right.
It was an otter's been here. No, it's Dion hit me. Go ahead. Sorry.
But when you look on the side of that styrofoam, that black foam, and you see fresh water, little spot that looks like your hand has touched it, that's a splash mark. That's where
that's really fresh.
Went to pitch a jig in there and it's splashed up on there. And, it's just little things like that I pay attention to, especially right off the get-go in the morning. Normally by midday, you're fishing behind somebody then, and that's when I really focus on my casting and making really, really good cast and stuff. Getting my bait where nobody else is.
Right. Did you do the same thing on Saturday that you did on Tuesday, kind of wait for the sun to come out? Kind of don't pick the good water. You go straight to the good stuff.
No, I had to go to the good stuff because
we talked about that. Yeah, because it was going to get busy.
Because of that particular spot.
Gotcha.
It's got a gas pump back there in the back end of it beyond.
Right, within the legal limit.
Yes, beyond where the good fishing is. There's a gas pump, so big boats have to idle by it, and they stir up the water because it's all shallow and. Apparently none of them own a depth finder because they just make a mud trail going right to it,
Right.
And those people at the end of the season, they come in and how'd my prop get messed up? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's where you're buying your gas. But anyways, that place gets destroyed.
Gotcha.
Normally by 10 o'clock, you might as well be gone.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about it is I understand that.
Right.
Not a lot of people do. A lot of people think, oh man, that good flat stuff, I'm going to wait till it gets daylight to go in there. They go in there that late, it's already messed up. The water's churned up, messed up, and I don't think a bass takes to that very well. He stands around in that water most of the time, and it's the same color. And when it churns up immediately, I think that boogers him up. I think he's just like standing there in a cloud. And he doesn't like that, and he doesn't feed well in it. Like I say, over the years, I think that's why I catch them out of this particular area right off the get-go.
Okay.
It's one of the only times of the day when it's totally pristine, few people walking around on the docks, that's about it. Yep. But you don't have a lot of other things manipulating it.
So how many fish did you catch off this little area?
We caught 4 out of there. We caught 4. The 4 that I weighed in, I caught out of there by 9 o'clock. And I told Bo Harris, I said, we are fixing to stomp a mud hole in them right now. I said, because I knew we had.
So what'd you catch? You caught one over 5?
We had 16.
You had about 16 pounds.
Yeah, we had 16
on those
pounds.
4 in one area.
Yeah.
Same deal.
165. And like I say, we had 4 that weighed 16, and I left out of there, and feeling pretty good, thinking, by golly, give me another hour, and that sun gets that big and bright, I'm fixing to really show them something I ain't seen, especially this time of the year. So far this year,
right? Because the numbers have been kind of dropping off. It's been tough.
Numbers have been tough.
It's been 15-pound days.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean,
or 12-pound days.
Yeah, when we won with 1890, that was pretty decisive. You know.
Yeah.
You know, so anyways, you know, we went to leave out of there, and
thank you for saying we. You've been saying we catch these fish. We've been doing this. I rode, caught one fish.
You caught one of them.
Yeah, but still, thanks for the we thing. That's
not a problem.
For all you guys out there when the team and you smoke them great big. Just remember that poor old bastard on the other side. Give him a little love. I'm starting to feel like I'm special.
I mean, it's nice when you don't have to get down and get your own drink and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know if Bo's watching or not, but you know the feeling, Bo.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bo's a professional.
Professional net man?
Yeah, he's a professional. Yeah, hands down.
That was the first thing when you called me and it's like, hey, I did it again. I said, did what? He said, we won. I said, no kidding. He's like, yeah. I said, first thing I asked him was, how many Bo catch?
Yeah.
He's like, he's caught one fish. I was like, good. Yeah. I'm happy now. Yeah. It's all right. If he caught 3 of them, you caught one, I was going to be really pissed.
Well, it could happen.
He caught one, so I'm all good now. So
it could happen.
I didn't want to lose my net spot.
It could happen, but the odds are not in your favor fishing with me.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, and that's what everybody's got to understand. There's a reason you don't catch as many, and that's because I don't give you anything.
That's right.
You know, but you
do share in the purse.
But I do share in the
purse. So that's all good. Yeah, so I don't care.
Know,
well, this works for me.
You know,
it's a team.
And
pay it up.
And I position my boat. You know, I position my boat where I'm going to get the right cast. Mm-hmm. You know, every cast I make, and you know, everything I do in the boat has a purpose. You know, and so it's for me to make the right cast.
Sure, but I also have to add that you're not a fishing Nazi when it comes to team fishing. And you and I have talked about the difference between fishing a pro-am versus a buddy. I mean, yeah, you position the boat right, but when you get down to retire something, it's like, hey, get up there and flip. You don't make the bow of the boat off limits.
No.
You know, and it's all good. I mean,
no, it's.
I didn't sit in the back of the boat all day. I had a good time. Yeah, I mean, we fished all over the place.
No, but it's just one of those deals. It's hard to make the right cast for 2 people.
Sure. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I have to make everything just right. Yeah, I can cast pretty good, but I also the boat maneuvering. You know, a lot of people don't have any idea how to chase a big bass around a boat dock. And 99% of them screw it up with the trolling motor. Mm-hmm. They scare that fish, but long before the bait ever sees your bait, and they don't think about it, you know. But you know, when you turn your trolling motor on and you see that big boil come away from it, if that happens going out of boat dock, that thing will roll under that boat dock. Well, as soon as it gets under the flat part of that boat dock, that water continues to roll on. And
turbulence.
The turbulence rolls completely.
Backwash.
When you go around, there's sometimes you can go around the other side of the dock, and you're just now seeing it come out that side of the dock. That screws up the whole thing. The whole dock is ruined. You know, and any 5 or 6 pounder that lives under there, you screwed the whole deal up. And a lot of guys don't realize, you know, you get your bait hung up, you skip in there and you make a bad skip, you hang it on a rope. They run in there, they want it loose, they jab at it 2 or 3 times, and then they grab up something, they cut the rope, or they do whatever they got to do, and then they get on the trolling motor to leave that dock. You just screwed up that whole dock. Yep. You have to push away from the dock.
And that's one thing I did notice with you.
Yep. Push that boat away from the dock, and that way your trolling motor turbulence doesn't go under
you know what?
The dock.
That kicks a guy's ass. You do it all day.
Well,
you know it does. I mean, that really wears you out. I mean, I'm not saying that wears you out, but I mean, even for me, because you fish 8 hours and you're flipping, and then you're pushing off on docks and pushing a 20-foot boat all day. That wears a guy out. But it makes the difference between cashing a check and not cashing a check.
Well, it makes the difference in going around the other side dock and catching another 6-pounder. You got to see that happen. You know,
I did.
We caught one giant under one side, went around the other side, and caught another one.
Did Bo get to see that?
No, Bo did not get to see that.
All right.
We were not on them that good.
Now I'm happy.
Yeah.
Everything's good now. Yeah.
But it's all of those little things, the splash marks on the side of the docks, and you know, watching for the cobwebs and stuff like that, and you know, knowing
pushing off the dock.
This water gets messed up past a certain portion of the day.
And let's be clear though, that primarily pertains to shallow water fishing.
Sure.
I mean,
sure, absolutely. You can be much more unforgiving in your boat positioning if they're 20 foot deep.
Yeah, and there's a kick-ass wind blowing into a dock, and
To some
you know,
extent.
sure.
There's a lot of people look at that depth finder. Oh, he's 20 foot deep. He can't hear you. No, you're full of crap.
Yep.
He can hear you. Turn around and look at your outboard.
Yeah.
Your outboard is approximately 20 feet from you.
Right.
Okay. If there was a squirrel sitting back there, you think he'd hear you? Yeah. Well, guess what? Under the water, everything's magnified. Right. So when I get out there in deeper water, if it's dead slick calm, I turn my trolling motor down on lower gear. When I'm fishing, I turn it down on lower speed. I just want to barely move around out there. I don't want to hit it on high and go and then stop and hit it on high and move over here. You know, a lot of guys do that when they get out in that open water. You're still too close to that fish.
I read an article on that once. And I'm going to butcher the terms, and you guys online don't have to correct me if I say it wrong. But there's two kinds of sound. There's audible sound, which are you and I talking above the water, and then the resonating sound that runs through the boat. And they always say, or this article said that, and I can't remember. It might have been like in a Bassmasters magazine. If you have a normal conversation between you, it doesn't affect fishing a bit. But walking on your deck, slamming your lids, starting your boat, running your prop, all that resonating noise when you're fishing around an area will affect the outcome of your fishing.
The only drawback to my Camus boat, the only drawback that I have to my Camus boat, other than that, it's the greatest boat ever. My cooler is freaking loud.
Your cooler.
My cooler when
you're rattling around or closing the lid.
No, when you're closing the lid, you got to be careful and don't let that lid just slam down. Mm-hmm. Because when you do, I mean, everything for a 30-yard circle around you is right. Mm-hmm. You know, it's
I think a lot of people don't even realize about their lids. You close that lid, it cracks, and that's just like, it's like going boom. It's like leaving a ring.
You take and retie your bait. You take and retie your bait, and you got your side cutters in your pocket. You retie your bait, and then you throw them in the floor. Mm-hmm. That's very loud under the water. Under the water, that makes all kinds of noise.
That's why I use my teeth.
There you go.
Which you're not supposed to do.
Which you're not supposed to do.
Right.
But, you got to think about those things. You go fish for them on the bed, which I grew up doing with my dad and watching him. And he was very, very big on that boat staying quiet and staying silent. Anything, slamming lids, dropping your rod in the floor of the boat, anything like that, that's noise. And the bigger the fish is, you're going to screw him up. And you can do it. You can go, next time you're out there and you're seeing some on the bed, get 20 feet away from one standing on the bed, anchor your boat, or tie off to a dock, and then drop a pair of pliers on the bottom of the boat and watch that fish. He will immediately be standing, looking in the opposite direction. As soon as you drop them pliers, he'll turn around and look right at you. Huh. He knows you're there. I mean, and that's a very unnatural thing for him to hear. Anytime I'm up shallow, 99% of the time, in this day, modern day of all the technology and everything, I turn off my locators. Mm-hmm. Because those locators, you know how they tell if your transducer's working when you pull into the marina and,
You can hear it clicking.
Yeah, you can hear it clicking. Yeah. Click, 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 just as plain as day. Yep. I can only imagine that a fish is not used to hearing that every day. And so when I'm fishing up dirt shallow, I just shut them off.
Your wife says she's virtually silent in the boat.
Oh, like super quiet. She is.
I think her exact quote she put online right now is, "I am so quiet in the boat."
There's sometimes she throws her soda can from the back of the boat like she's shooting a three-pointer up into the middle of the boat, No, she does a good job, but I don't fish with her up shallow very often. 99% of the time, we're way out deep.
That's because she's so damn loud.
That's because she's so loud.
There you go. Amy, you're way too loud in the boat, so you're off.
You got to be careful. There's a lot of things I believe in, my dad wouldn't let a partner wear a yellow rain suit.
A yellow one.
You wear a yellow rain suit in the boat, my dad would make you change.
Well, that's just superstitious, not noise.
No, he swore and be damned they could see that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. If you're bed fishing, he carried
I can see that. Yeah, like a yellow slicker.
He carried an extra green rain suit in
the
boat
wearing
with him.
That.
And that's the first thing he'd tell you when we've when we was bed fishing. Nah, you ain't wearing that. Yeah, take that off. And you know, it just makes sense. Wear drab colors. You know, what's he looking at when he's looking up? Blue sky or a black sky? You know, or a gray.
We want to wear a blue suit.
Nothing too bright.
Yeah.
Nothing too bright. Just kind of keep in mind what he's looking up there at. I see these guys with these big bright ass boats. Guess what? When they're spawn fishing, I know I'm going to catch more than they are.
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes they're going to look up there and they're like,
One of our listeners,
I'm not getting in that banana, you know.
One of our viewers posted on, so Kim Pruitt says, turn on all your transducers while your boat's in the garage and then see how loud it is.
Oh, yeah.
So you can light up the garage.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about live scope and everything. We try not to talk about it too much.
And we're going to talk about it a little bit tonight as we get
Peyton,
in here, because I have questions coming up.
Me and Peyton with crappie fishing 2 years ago, we got to going back to the same creek time after time after time. We probably went to the same creek 10 days in a row. And it's because it had a school of crappie in it that was a mile long and a half a mile wide. It was the damnedest school of fish I ever seen. No way you're going to catch them all. And no way were you effectively catching and scaring enough of them that it should make a difference. By about the 6th or 7th day, he had to start running his live scope on a further out setting because they were sensing it.
Sensing something.
And they were getting out of the way. He couldn't even see them when it was on like 30 feet, where that's where the optimum place is. You know, you want to keep it on a shorter image, that way you can see a better picture. And we ended up having to catch them out there and look at them at 60 and 70 feet to even find the school.
It's funny that you mentioned that.
They know. Somehow they know.
When I was doing the crappie trails, when they first started, those guys were fishing 10 to 15 foot, and they were using 13-foot rods. And you see those guys doing those long jigging rods, and that's what they would do. They just drop right on that target with live scope, and they'd catch them. Forward-facing sonar, whatever you want to call it. But by the end of the 5th year, they were going back to 7-foot rods and making long casts at 25 to 75 foot because they said those fish were getting spooked. Now, was it the transducer? I really don't think so. I think, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, nothing I've read, I have always felt like game fish, all game fish, be it a bass, a striper, a largemouth, a spotted bass, a smallmouth, they know what it's like to be hunted because they are the hunters. So it's a predatory response because anglers with forward-facing sonar all approach fish the same way. You know, it's the same technique. You come up on them, you slow down quick, drop the bait, and I think they feel like they are being hunted. Therefore, that's that repetition. So I think it's kind of changing your fishing style up, just like how you approach a dock. I think the really good, astute forward-facing sonar guys are going to figure out different ways to approach fish.
Sure.
Than the traditional, let's just run up on them, hit the brakes, my trolling motor brakes, and then, go after it. Because on those southern lakes, they literally chase them around with the trolling motor, hunt them down until they bite. Literally move and chase them a couple miles an hour. So I think in my opinion, that's what those fish do on the long cast.
You talk about your fish in the tank that you had for many, many years. The fish got conditioned.
Oh yeah,
it got conditioned to certain scenarios. When you walked up, guess what? It got excited.
Oh yeah.
Fixing to eat.
we've got the new one. His name's Bones. We got Bones in there because Doc Paul gave us one, so we put him in there, and he's up to about 8-9 inches now. But he knows when I get there in the morning, he swims over to the corner of the glass, stares at me because I'm walking the minnow tank because he knows it's breakfast.
Yep.
Now I have 2 yellow perch in there too, which is totally cool deal because they don't care. But as soon as those minnows hit the water, then they know. Yeah. And they go on a feeding frenzy. Now the bass will rule the roost. He'll push him out of the way and he'll eat what he wants. But he knows he'll follow you down the glass the same way.
They understand. They see it.
We haven't talked about it, but the last week and a half, what I've really been fascinated by watching him is he never moves up halfway up the tank. His belly is in the rocks every day, all day long. He's staying there on the bottom. And I know that the barometric pressure has a play in that. The temperatures have a play in that. But you can see when he suspends on certain days, when he lays on the bottom, but he just never, for the last 2 weeks, chased fish to the surface. And I always kind of try to relate that to my fishing. I always see what those fish are doing in the tank because I kind of know if they're going to be on the bottom or if they're at the top. I think that's like a bull crap, or do you think it has?
No, I think it's barometric pressure.
No, but I mean, do you think I can relate that to my fishing?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, if he's on the bottom,
100%.
I probably need to get my jig out, you know?
Absolutely. Nature works together. It understands. We're the ones that don't understand. We're guessing.
Yeah.
Okay. Nature understands. We haven't had a cloud in the sky in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's been high, bluebird, still
and hot.
Not a ton of wind. Sunday was windy.
Oh yeah.
Sunday was windy. Guess what? Lawson caught 20 keepers on Sunday.
Yep. I went out looking in the pontoon boat.
It's the first big wind that we've had, so it made them bite. You know, shoot, they ate. The day before, I caught 4. You know, and that happens because you got a big wind. Got a big wind changes the pressure a little bit. But today, you know, yep, the water temperature's cooling off, and you know you got kind of a front moving in, but still high blue days, really, really high pressure days, and you know that makes them kind of want to set around.
Yeah,
you know,
it's interesting.
They got to have something that makes them get some frisky again. The water temperature cooling down is going to make that happen.
Yep. So on that subject, with these water temperatures cooling down, I'm going to throw a wrench in you because I got a message online. I kind of like this because I think the last time you went to the Pickwick River, you actually locked all the way up to Wheeler and won, didn't you? Or did really well.
Yep.
You're really good on Wheeler.
Yeah, normally.
So he says, hey, you guys got any advice for Lake Wheeler in the first week of November?
Wheeler's a kind of a neat lake. It doesn't have much in the way of creeks, and that's kind of what screws you up a little bit on Wheeler. You have less creeks to deal with, but the creeks that you do deal with are full of bass. You know, and here on Lake of the Ozarks and our lakes, we deal with creeks in the fall a lot of times. Fish get around them creeks, get up in them and stuff like that. You can do the same thing on Wheeler. You can go down there to the first creek, second creek, you know, the one with
from
the
the
power
dam.
plant, from the dam. You can go down there by the power plant, that big creek there, get back in there, catch a lot of fish. And you also got to play where the current's moving. If the current's moving and you get some water flow coming through it, then you'll get out there on the main river, and pitch a jig around that big old isolated stumps and stuff, right on the edge of the river channels.
Now, with that being said, because the Lake of the Ozarks and some of these central Missouri lakes have no idea what locking is.
Yeah.
But Wheeler, Pickwick, Wilson, Wheeler are pretty heavily locked. And I don't know in November if there's a lot of traffic or not. It should be.
Yeah, there should be. There should be a lot of grain moving. They move a lot of grain.
So obviously you got to pay attention to the lockmaster and what's going on there because you can get manufacturer current.
They probably won't let them lock out a Wheeler in that championship.
No, but I'm saying if you're fishing Wheeler, you know, you kind of want to be near the dam if there's a lot of locking traffic because there is
makes water move.
I call it manufacturer current.
That's
you know,
right.
as they open those lock gates, you want to fish that side and catch that current.
Makes the water move.
Really big in the Red River.
And when when the water moves, it's just like current anywhere. It's only flowing down for just a few minutes when it's filling the lock up, but
those fish are conditioned to it, right?
They know.
They know when that moves, that's feeding time.
When they move, when it moves, they get out there and they eat.
Yep.
And they eat on a lot of that main channel stuff when that happens, right out on the main river. You know, don't be afraid to fish right out in the thick of that current because that's where they bite. And you catch a lot of big old smallmouth that time of the year too. Fishing a jig. I mean, I would have no qualms going down there with a jig and fishing and just keeping it wet. From a little brown one to a black and blue one, you know, just find
keep
the right
it simple,
color.
right?
Yeah, because it can be good. You know, it can be very good.
Yep.
You get along those bluffy areas and catch some big old fish, and you can go up in those creeks, pitch it isolated woods, stuff like that, just like you would any other.
Moore's who asked questions. By the way, I'm a co-angler. Thanks, guys. You know, but that doesn't matter. You know, if that guy's going to fish out,
confidence in something.
Yep. Just if he swings the boat around the right way, flip that jig up on the bank and get you one. You know,
I've done.
Don't be afraid to throw top water.
Oh no.
Yep. Cover a lot of water when you're in the back of the boat.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to go.
Yep.
Spinner bait. I don't know. Swim bait out there work?
Oh yeah, sure. Some depends on if you're seeing any movement.
Yeah.
If you're seeing some fish moving, flouncing around, yeah, then you can catch them on catch them on a swim bait, an Alabama rig, stuff like that.
And that's where let's stop there, because that's where we're kind of segueing into back to Central Missouri. These water temperatures are dropping quick, and I need some advice. I got a 2-day tournament coming up this weekend. I think my style of fishing, which I'm a big bladed jig guy. Yep. I like throwing spinner bait. I feel really good this weekend because I think these water temperatures are going to drop. Those fish are going to start staging out a little more. This last week we talked about it. I saw a lot of bass with their nose sticking out of the corner of the docks, but they weren't really eating. I think this will motivate them a little more. I think it'll help.
Every degree that the water temperature goes down, fishing's going to get better. It's going to increase your bites. Fishing shallow, fishing more aggressively. And when I say fishing more aggressively, chatterbaits, crankbaits, topwaters, by this weekend I would have out pretty good array of lures. I'd have a swim bait tied on.
I know they call it junk fishing, but it's until you know.
Still, yeah.
Until you know.
And when I say a swim bait, I mean a swim bait can be a chatterbait. Can, if a chatterbait's what you want to throw a chatterbait. That's fine. Yeah. That's basically a swim jig is what it is.
And it's not a shameless plug, and I don't mean it, but I'm going to be really honest with everybody. I have really good luck in the fall when I throw a sexy shad, cheap ass chatterbait. I don't throw a jackhammer. I throw the cheapest one because I throw around docks a lot, so I beat the paint off of them. So I don't throw an $18 bait. I throw a $6 bait, and I just when it gets all wore out, I just tie a fresh one on.
Yeah.
Because I can get 4 to 1 on the others, and I don't have to jump start it. It's fine. But I have found Charlie Brewer Slider. Remember them?
Yep.
They make a little. It looks like a Reaction Innovations little skinny dipper or whatever anybody else.
Boot tail.
It's just a boot tail minnow. But that thing is like the toughest rubber I have ever had. You put that on the back of a chatterbait and you can beat the docks and fish around and they don't pull off. I kind of like that one. But I throw a little boot tail minnow in the back of mine. I really have fun with it. And
in the end, it's all about being efficient. And if your bait doesn't tear up as much, your bait stays
it's what
working.
I have confidence in.
Yeah,
but it's a great Kentucky bait. You can catch those little fat chunkers off the corners of the docks. Every once in a while, a largemouth is hiding out in there too, and you pick one up. But coupled that with the shallow water bite, I think this weekend's going to be a good weekend to catch fish.
Oh, I think it could be. Lawson caught a spotted bass on last Thursday before the tournament that was 25 inches long.
That's a big one.
It was gigantic.
Maybe about a 4-pounder.
He said it wouldn't have weighed that, but he said because it was real scrawny looking for some reason. He said it looked like it was on its way out. And when I say on its way out, I mean it's probably dying. But he said
old fish.
It was the biggest spotted bass he's ever caught out of Lake the Ozarks.
And
we fished for those a little bit on Saturday. When I started struggling after 9 o'clock and couldn't get
let's go find one.
I wanted to catch one more keeper and couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
So
and it's I want to say I think it was Big Bass Bash weekend that I pulled out and I grabbed a spinnerbait out and I caught 3 keepers on a spinnerbait. And that's upriver, that's really not the forte yet, but it made me pay attention to it. Yeah. They're starting to come out there. And they were 15-inch fish, but this time of year, 2-day tournament, I think they had a small 20-boat tournament way upriver that they have their championship 2-dayer.
Yeah.
Took 24, 25 pounds, I think, maybe 27.
For 2 days.
But for 2 days.
Yeah.
But even at 27, that's $13.50 a day.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of in my wheelhouse because I like those 12-pound strings.
I tell you what, we've talked about your little fish in the
but I won't be schlepping around as much.
That's right.
Now
shucking and driving.
We're going to be moving a lot more. Yeah. So yeah. So the fish in the tank. I'm sorry.
That fish in the tank over there, I would watch him. I'd watch him the rest of the week, see what he does, see if he's up real high one day or down real low. And just kind of pay attention to what kind of day it is. Mm-hmm. Come Saturday morning, you go out there and you fish for a couple hours, call in, check on the store. Hey, how's the store working?
What's Bones up to?
Go over and look at my fish. How's my fish doing?
But see, if you take a dozen minnows and scoop them out of the net, take them over to an aquarium, you dump them in. Those minnows just scatter. They don't know where they're at. They don't know what they're doing. They swim everywhere. But some of them go to the very top. some go to the very bottom. And you can watch those fish and how they react. The yellow perch are smart. They school them up in the corner and just eat them. You know, they know because they're schooling fish. They get them all bundled up because they know the program. The bass, he just eats. You know, he'll go around and find them and just eat them. But I noticed that he'll keep his head down and his tail up, and he goes around the bottom he's eating. But he never's pulling up and looking around up top. There's always about 5 or 6 minnows that get really smart. And they go to the very top, and they'll go as fast as they can across the other side, and they'll hang up in a little ball. There's like 5 of them. And when he swims over underneath them, they'll skin ass the other way. And they'll make it a day. And this is where it gets kind of crazy. When I get to work the next morning, they're all gone. So when I turn the lights off, my question that I ask myself is, do the minnows not understand and they start easing down and they get eat? Or when everybody leaves and it's quiet, does that old bass roll up top and just eat them?
I'd say you can see them better.
He goes up and surface eats them
Yeah,
at evening?
he starts looking up there.
Yep.
Maybe the lights are too bright for him to look up at.
I guess I have to set up the GoPro.
Yeah.
And just watch what they do at night. Put some minnows in there at night and then come back next day and just scroll through it and see. But
the reason he turns his
they
head
are fun
down,
to watch.
Head down to look, is because his eyes don't move.
Okay.
A bass's eyes don't move, don't pivot in his head.
But I didn't know that.
So it helps him to look. You know, when they go by him, he just.
But my point is, he never angles up to look. You know, right now he's only looking down.
Yeah.
You know,
he might not want to be eating on the surface right now.
So it makes me wonder about the whole topwater bite.
I haven't caught one on topwater yet.
So.
And I mean, and I have, with only catching 4 fish in the 2 tournaments I've fished. Guess what? I've had plenty of time to try other stuff.
Sure.
And I've made the guys in the boat with me. I made you throw one quite a bit, you know.
I don't mind it because what we did, and I was getting ready to say, what we did was different with it. You know, we only focused on, you know, you fish a specific dock, a specific kind of structure, and I'm not saying that we did, but one does. You know, when you're going from one area to the next, there's nothing wrong with throwing topwater bait, a spinner bait, a swim bait, and covering that open water area in between when you're going to the next productive water, because might be what we call a cruiser. You know, he's out there chasing shad, or I think a few shows back you said, hey, you know, old bass, he doesn't just sit on that log all day. He gets out and swims around.
Every now and
you know, and he's got to go take a look at things, you know, and throw it out there. You might catch that reaction strike. You know, I guess you can use that topwater for schlepping whenever you're moving along. You know, schlep that other bait, but don't just randomly just pound areas that are unproductive. Throw it in between in some dark areas and around boat ramps and those kind of things where fish might lie.
I'm going to always keep something to keep them honest, you know, because when the topwater starts on Lake of the Ozarks, if you're not in on it, you're going to get beat by it. And when I say get beat by it, it won't be a friendly beating either. It will be a thrashing.
Right. And
I mean, somebody's going to weigh in 24 and you're going to weigh in 12.
Right.
You know, and there's not going to be just one guy do it either. When it turns on and it happens, there's going to be 10 guys do it.
But it's a window just like the spawn, right?
Sure.
You get that right window and it's just right. I mean, and we talk about it a lot. You took me to the Cove Tuesday whenever you guys fished Highway 5, you and Lawson, and absolutely destroyed them on a spook. And that was a late October bite, you know.
And they were not up.
Yep.
They were on the bottom. The 2 bites we got in there were dead on the bottom, you know.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is it's right here in the back of my head, because I'm going to be upriver and I'm going to see some spot that looks like it, and by God, the flitter shad's spook's coming out, you know, and we're going to try it, you know, because that's just. And for the record, there's really only one spook.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned,
flitter shad.
You can get other ones, but it's a waste of your money.
Yeah, it's killer. That is a killer.
Yeah, I mean it's just a good all around color.
Yep.
Got a little bit of sparkle on it.
It's you know, the newer ones are clear. They're a little more clear.
They are a lot clearer.
The old ones, but it's an OD green, kind of some of them have white belly, some of them are clear, but they've got big chunks of silver glitter on the back of them, and they call it a flitter shad. There's always one hanging up here somewhere.
Charlie Campbell called it Christmas tree.
That was the original, yes.
Because it had the spangles all over it.
Yep, it's a big, square, chunky, but that's a great spook.
Yep.
It is a great spook. So, yeah.
I carry other colors, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't ever throw them.
I didn't see Lloyd tonight, but shout out to Lloyd at Hiawatha Beach Resort for being our sponsor and helping us out here with the show. Dad said he wasn't coming tonight because he was licking his wounds because he didn't catch any fish last weekend. But, for, what is he, 82, 83?
Yeah.
He's still out there fishing. It's good for him. But him and June run a great little place up there at the little Buffalo.
Little Buffalo. Yep.
So if you're up that way, huh? He was tired. He said he must have been tired. Yeah, but yeah. So shout out to Lloyd and June if you guys are watching. Thanks again for helping us out here at the show. It keeps the computer running.
That's right.
So that's cool. Shameless plug. I don't know, man. You got anything?
I wore my Pro Guide.
Is that EYHH? Yeah.
I wore my Pro Guide sweatshirt tonight. I mean, if you don't have good batteries, by golly, guess what? You're gonna have troubles. So I believe in that.
Keep your batteries charged.
And they do a good job at keeping me in good batteries.
We can have. I bet you we can have one of those guys on the show one time.
Yeah,
be all right.
Probably.
Yeah, you talk about because there's a lot. You can learn a lot about batteries.
Yeah.
If you want to. Oh my God. I was talking to a guy the other day about discharging batteries versus maintaining batteries. When they talk about a cycle.
Yeah.
You know what a cycle really is? That's when you run it flat dead and then charge it again. That's a cycle.
Yeah.
So
and we never run them.
No.
Completely dead.
So how can you really know if you're running cycles or not, or should you or should you not? I mean, that's a whole. I don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
What I tell people is, after a couple of years, buy some new ones. That's easy enough.
You were talking earlier before we get done with the show. About me, me making a comeback. It's all good.
Not a comeback.
Well, it kind of is.
What?
I'm just glad to be alive.
Because I'm and I'm gonna let you talk here, but I want to clarify. To me, it's like because I'm the true, real, unfiltered talk. You're filtered because you still fish. I'm not a star. I'm a never will be. I really enjoy fishing. I think I do pretty good, but I can say what I want to say. And what I want to say tonight is I just want to tell those guys, like, it's been 2 weeks now. You've never turned on your damn electronics one time, and they can all suck it. It's like you don't need that shit. It's like, man, I'm glad to see you do what you're doing because it's cool. It's what I grew up watching. It's what I grew up watching your dad do and those pros. And I love it when you're out there and you smoke their asses, and it's great. And that's what I said before. I'm like, dude. It's like how's it feel to be in the game again? Yeah. That's what I want to know. It's like it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting. You get out there and you make a couple of good decisions and things go your way, and yeah, that's a big deal. When I was, when I haven't been fishing a ton, and you don't know if you're going to come back and be able to do it well. Well, guess what? I was good till about 1 o'clock. About 1 o'clock, I started petering out pretty bad, and started hurting, and my hands started aching and getting cramps and stuff like that, and and I had to make some adjustments, but my dad was 71 years old when he beat me in the last FLW tournament that he won. And
Champlain?
No, it was on Lake Eufaula.
On Eufaula?
That was the last one that he won. He was 71 years old. And I made the top 10 in that tournament also. I finished 8th in that tournament. And he beat me by 32 pounds. We fished the exact same amount of days. The exact same amount of days. We both fished 3 days in that tournament. And he beat me by 32 pounds at 71 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to go out there and scratch just barely by the likes of my son and some of the guys that I fished against on Saturday, that's a pretty big feat. That was exciting for me.
How many days you pre-fish?
Well, I didn't pre-fish for either one of them.
Exactly.
But,
go ahead.
But I was kind of saving myself. I didn't want to wear myself out either.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those deals that, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get to feeling better. I'm going to get better shape, back in shape, and and everything's going to be just fine.
And, we had the talk. You and I had the talk. I said, your dad, he won the classic smoke a cigarette sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
He did. I mean, and not the smoking doesn't matter. I mean, everybody smoked. Hell, but he fished just fine sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
This guy to my left or on your right on the television, he takes the butt seat and throws it up on the dock. So you stand all damn day, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with leaning against something.
Yeah. I've always,
You're not 28 anymore, dude.
I know that. That's for sure.
Because I said it last week. I'm gonna say it again. I sat in the seat and I was glad it was there. I was like, I'm taking me a little break. But what'd you say? When I need to retie and sit, I'll take a break then. I'm like,
I might try that this next one.
Got to have an adjustment. So
I might.
So my shameless plug. I'm gonna throw this out there. Millennium makes these really cool seats that I have.
They are.
And you're fixing to probably gonna get one for me for Christmas.
I got to use one in your boat one day. So yeah,
they're not bad. They're like a little horseshoe, and they're mesh, but you can sit on them, you can lean on them, and they're just pretty handy.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell they're called, but they're pretty cool. They're what? I don't know. That thing has to be super heavy duty. One of the guys at Big Ed, he's the crowd can't see, but he's like, you got to use my seat, and it's like it's got to be double reinforced big steel because that's a big old guy. So it's like the ultra heavy duty butt seat.
You opened your mouth?
That's a double wide boat seat. They make those, one for each cheek.
I'm not saying that you can't use them. I mean, George Cochran sit down most of his career.
Yeah.
And peel our ass regularly.
I've never asked because I never really was a question, but I can ask now. Because your father had polio as a child.
Yep.
When his latter years, when he was fishing, was it causing him like issues to where he had to sit a lot?
Yeah.
And I think that was another issue too.
Yeah,
but,
he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah. So that's another reason to sit.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying you need to sit. I'm just saying you need to lean.
I just need to get back in fishing shape a little bit better.
I don't know if you need to.
Yeah, well, I feel like I need to.
Whatever you're doing, don't stop.
Yeah.
Hell.
Oh no, I'm not going to.
Pretty
I'm
good.
Not going to.
It's pretty good. So yeah, so
Lawson still won't fish with me even though I'm winning.
Well,
and that's because he knows I'm not going to change anything.
And I'm trying to. I think it was Friday. He called and he's and he always this is the conversation because Lawson's a big talker.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm working. What are you doing? He's like, what are you doing Saturday? And I said, dude, I got to work. I said, I got stuff going on. I said, can't find any help. He's like, yeah. I might fish with Dad then. He said, you're going to fish when you can. He said, I'll just fish with him. So I called you and I said, hey, I think Lawson's going to fish. I talked to your son. He's going to fish. And he went, what? And I said, no, I think he is. And then he didn't.
He doesn't want to fish with me.
It's because you guys argue when you fish? Because he wants to go out in the main lake and you want to stay in the back?
I want that hole as bad as he does.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. The deck's not wide enough on the front.
Not big enough for both of us when we're slinging under boat docks. One of us has got to be pretty much sitting in the back.
Gotcha.
Really, might as well just go sit behind the wheel and wait till it's your turn.
But in fairness, Sunday rolls around. He fished tournament and he won too.
Sure.
So it's not like the one Hibden was doing good this weekend.
I'd love to fish
and
with him,
he did stuff a little bit differently too.
Some of it, yeah.
I mean, from what I gather, he didn't tell me everything, but you guys didn't do the exact same thing.
No.
Everybody has their own little groove, but
a lot of it's the same.
Yeah.
A lot of it's the same.
No, boat don't catch nothing.
A lot of it's the same, just in different areas of the lake. Lots of different areas of the lake.
Because
there's areas I do not want to go to because I know he's fished there. And there's areas that I go to that he's like, why do you go there? I'm like,
Right. Well, he called me Saturday night and he's like, dude, I know you're fishing next weekend. If you don't pick up this bait and do this way, he said, you're a moron. And I was like, I'm going to give it a try. What? Yeah. And then we talked about this afternoon, and it's just, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it or not secret. He's he's really picked up a little bit of a topwater bite in a certain area of the lake. Yeah. And he's like, you need to go try it. But I told Dad the same thing on Saturday. I'm like, hey, you guys need to go do this, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to go out and show him because it's a different dock.
Guess what? He told me on Saturday too.
It's cool. for iPhone users, I totally recommend this with all your fishing buddies. There's a feature on your phone called Find My iPhone. Have you seen that? But you can share locations with your other friends. Get your fishing buddies to give that information, because we got in the pontoon boat and we were like running around on Saturday or Sunday, and I said, well, Dad's just right around the corner. He's like 2 miles down, so we just went down there and checked on him fishing. He was fishing the wrong spot. It was a good spot, but you know where Drake's is?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were fishing the swim dock over there, and it was laden in shad. They were checking, but it was all right. But they did have about 9 or 10 pounds in the boat. You know, it wasn't bad, but they were getting out of the wind. So yeah, it was all good. So yeah, that's all I got. I don't really have a plug. I always want to thank the store. You know, it's I'm a part owner, but thanks for having the facility. The great guys that come. We got 5 guys tonight. You know, it's cool. So it's a good turnout, and we're still remodeling. So we moved the set around. It always looks the same for you guys that are watching, but it's fixing to get fun around here. When we do podcast and pizza on Wednesdays, it's going to be a good time. So building this little kitchen, we're going to have some good old time. So if you guys haven't been here live, I'd strongly encourage. It's a really good time. The guys have a good time. We're here in Laurie, Missouri. If you're here on a Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, come check us out. It's free. You can come watch us live. The best show is afterwards, because that's when you really get unfiltered.
That's right. That's when we tell the good stuff.
The good stuff is good. And always remember that, you guys can believe whatever you want to. We'll let you know what part's true or not, right?
That's right.
And that's it. I don't have a poem tonight. I don't have a quote. Let me get my book out here real quick. I think I got something over here. Living Legends. Who you want tonight?
Oh, I don't care.
Let me just scroll through and see what we got here.
Just pick the first one.
Ron Lindner.
There you go. It should be a good one. Probably going to be religious.
Oh my goodness. No. You ready for this? Blooming lilacs are almost a dead certain sign that the bass are bedding.
There you go.
There you go. So when spawning season rolls around, look for the blooming lilacs.
There you go.
I always was told here in Missouri it's the dogwoods.
Yep.
But if there's a lilac bush around, get ready, boys. It's on.
Al would know.
Ron Lindner.
Oh,
yep.
Ron.
Nope, that was Ron.
Is Al in there?
Yes. Al's quote was, "Don't become a one-method angler." That's his tip. So on Al J. Lindner, I can't say it.
Yeah.
There's always 3 quotes. Then they highlight one in the picture of them. So if you guys can see, the book I always use. See, there's a little quote right there. I always read that quote. But on the side, it's successful fishing isn't luck. It's based on all the knowledge which everyone has the potential of learning. It's good.
I got to fish against both of them a little bit.
Yep.
Ron and Al.
There's some good stuff in here. The second thing he says, learn how to fish for and catch bass consistently. I mean, it sounds good in theory.
Mr. 11 pounds right there.
From this, you will be able to adjust to most other species and fishing situations. Yeah. And the 2 keys to catching fish consistently are: learn how to read the water conditions fast in order to get a productive pattern. In other words, don't schlep around. Don't go grinding down the docks. Pick up and go. Right?
Right.
B, learn to become a versatile angler. Be able to fish any lure under any condition. Versatility is the key to angling success. Don't become a one-method angler. Now,
good stuff.
But I think you disagree with that.
No, not necessarily.
I was always told
I disagree with the last 2 times I fished. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, because that's the right time, but you don't want to, A, you don't want to leave fish to find fish. B, if it's working for you, don't change.
Yeah, you got to be, you got to be
but don't,
ready to shift
I think
gears.
what Lindner was saying was, don't pick up a jig and fish it all day long and never catch anything and say, I'm going to make it work. Because that's not going to be don't be a one-method angler. Mix it up. If it doesn't work,
that's the guy that's going to get his ass beat regular.
That's right. So that's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope.
We're going to wrap it up. Again, thanks everyone for showing up. It was a good time. Make sure you tune in next Wednesday. We'll bring somebody in. We always do an on week, off week. So we'll bring somebody in and have a little fun. But from all of us here at the Real Unfiltered Talk, I want to thank you all for watching. Always be careful out there on the water. Make sure you put your kill switches on, your life jackets. Be safe on the water. Take care, and we'll see you next Wednesday. We appreciate you watching. Thanks, guys.